It seems like prequels are all the rage right now, from House of the Dragon to Rings of Power. There's nothing like a good origin story for a world that we are all too familiar with. And that's exactly why Andor has proven to be the perfect expansion of the Star Wars universe. A spy thriller set before the battle that goes on between the Empire and the Rebel Alliance in Rogue One. In this video, we're taking a look at how Andor is what Star Wars has been trying to do for 17 years. Stay tuned for all this and more. First up, Andor is the answer to all your questions. The rebellion holds an essential place in Star Wars lore. Going all the way back to Rogue One, the original prequel to Star Wars and the Skywalker saga, we have Cassian Andor, who serves as an intelligence officer in the Rebel Alliance. The Alliance is tasked with the job of fighting against the Galactic Empire in an attempt to overthrow and dismantle it. So, Rogue One introduces us to Andor as an important member of the Rebel Alliance, who is entrusted with missions like gathering information and even taking out enemy forces. At one point in the film, we also learn that Andor has been part of the rebellion since he was just 6 years old, but we never really dove deep into his story. However, Andor is going to take us 5 years before the events of Rogue One take place. This was a time when the rebellion hadn't really kicked off, but there were whispers about it everywhere. The audience will, of course, follow the titular character as he comes into his own and turns into the rebel hero that we know him as. All in all, this is the origin story to end all origin stories. Followed by The Rebellion Explained. The reason why so many people believe Andor is doing what the Star Wars franchise hasn't been able to do is the fact that the show is actually going to take us through events that led to the Great Rebellion. Now, while in terms of timelines, Star Wars Rebels was set in the same time period as Andor, however, the animated movie revolved around the crew of the Ghost and their own separate adventures, instead of giving us an explanation for why things got to where they did. While all other Star Wars films have treated the rebellion against the cruel Empire as somewhat of a backstory, while the saga's main characters set out on their own adventures, Andor will place the rebellion at the heart of the entire story, finally giving us the answers we have been asking all along. The Empire holds a more important place in the storyline of the show, which is something that other Star Wars films have only briefly touched upon. A bunch of fans thought that the Empire Rebels versus the Empire plot was so overdone, considering the fact that it had been mentioned in almost every movie in the franchise. However, Andor offers a completely new take on the rebellion, taking us through the journey of how a group of people called for a civil war after suffering at the hands of the Empire. Moving on to what are the rebels planning? So now that we know we're getting a closer look into all that it took for the rebellion to be staged, the next question on everybody's mind is, how are the rebels planning on thwarting the Empire? And does the autocracy know that there is a group of individuals rising against it? The answer to all these questions can be found in episode 4 of the show, where the showrunners set us up for the heist that Sartha's team is going to be pulling off. Now, why is that happening, you ask? Well, it's important to understand that at this point in the show's timeline, the rebels simply don't exist, except as fragmented groups of people who have had enough of the Empire's cruel ways. So, to earn the people's trust, whatever exists in the Rebel Alliance, including Sartha's team, makes it a mission to strike the Empire's funds and use the money to support the Rebel Alliance, helping them buy weapons and other technology. While the Empire continues to pit groups of people against each other, trying to play by the rule of divide and conquer, the early Rebel Alliance keeps launching small attacks to take down the enemy. And of course, all of that escalates as we move towards the events of Rogue One. Finally, how long will Andor last? Of course, Andor is going to have to be a limited series, considering the fact that the show is quickly leading us up to Rogue One and the big showdown between the Rebels and the Empire. Season 1 will consist of 12 episodes, making Andor the longest original live-action series that Disney has released to this date. Staying true to tradition, all episodes of the show are going to be 35 to 50 minutes long, with the finale airing 2 months after the show's premiere. As far as the future goes, for now it's confirmed that the show will have 2 seasons that will span across the formation of the rebellion and the origins of the Galactic Civil War. With an adult tone that's completely new to the Star Wars franchise, Andor really is a unique take on a story that's so central to Star Wars lore, and we can't wait to see how the creators of the show run it. The showrunners have already announced that Season 2 will also be 12 episodes long, and while we don't have a release date as of yet, production will start in November. The show is going to be filmed in chunks of 3 episodes at a time, so even the cast won't know what direction the show is going in until the moment arrives. But what we can say for sure is that Season 2 will dive deep into the mind of Cassian Andor, building the narrative up to his tragic fate in Rogue One, finally giving the fans some kind of closure. After all of this, let's talk a little about all the characters that are going to be part of this Star Wars prequel. First up, Diego Luna as Cassian Andor. Of course, Cassian's character is central to the show. Of course, avid Star Wars fans are already familiar with the titular character and the actor playing the role. But for those of you who don't know, Cassian is from the planet of Phoenix, where he doesn't really have the best reputation. However, while carrying out one of his petty crimes, he is identified as a threat by the Empire. This is when he is thrown into the world of the Rebellion, turning into a spy who is eventually ready to die for the cause. Then we have Genevieve O'Reilly as Mon Mothma. Another familiar face in the Andor is going to be Genevieve O'Reilly, who is going to be reprising her role of Mon Mothma, a politician who becomes one of the most valuable assets of the Rebellion. Mothma plays a major role in overthrowing the Empire, and the fans already love her after her consistently brilliant performances in Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, and the animated film Star Wars Rebels. Next up is Stellan Skarsgård as Luthen Rael. Luthen is yet another character who will be instrumental to the Rebellion. Played by the talented Skarsgård, Luthen's character is believed to have been changing a classic Star Wars trope. How is that so? First things first, Luthen is actually the character who introduces Andor to the Rebellion. While Cassian's intention is to run away and make a life for yourself on another planet, Luthen compels him to stay and fight for something good. This way, Luthen becomes the mentor that guides our hero to the light. However, unlike all the other mentors in the franchise, including Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn, Luthen is almost forced into the role rather than wanting to do it out of his own record. That and the fact that he doesn't need to die for Cassian to want to join the Rebellion and make a difference in the world. Introducing Adria Arjona as Bix Kalleen. The Star Wars prequel has its fair share of old characters and new, and one of the newer faces in the franchise is Bix Kalleen, played by Adria Arjona. Bix adds another layer to Cassian's character, proving to be one of his only loyal friends. However, Bix is no ordinary character because she is also involved in the gritty underworld. As the story goes on, Bix joins Cassian in the Rebellion, and together the two set out on an adventure of a lifetime. Moving on to the supporting cast. In addition to the main cast, Andor features plenty of supporting characters who will keep the story afloat. These include Alex Ferns as the mysterious Sergeant Kostek, who might be more than meets the eye. Then we have Dave Chapman, who's voicing the very famous B2EMO, Cassian's pet droid, who is one of the most lovable characters in the show, if we're being honest. And if that wasn't enough, the show will also feature veterans like Forrest Whitaker and Fiona Shaw, who are expected to do nothing but justice to this wild story. Well, that's a wrap for this video. Do you think Andor is doing justice to the Star Wars franchise? Let us know in the comments below. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. We'll see you on the next one, and thanks for watching.